Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called I Am Human, written by MWMN19. My name is Fritz, and I am a blacksmith. In my youth, I toiled away on the fields of my village. When I had free time, my uncle would teach me the art of blacksmithing. From making and fixing tools, hooves and the like, all the way to forging weaponry, swords, arrow tips, and spear tips. As I got older, so did my uncle, eventually passing away peacefully in his sleep. I took over his shop, still not satisfied with my knowledge. I sought to learn more. I sought advice from traders and vagabonds and anything pertaining to blacksmithing. Eventually, I learned to make armor, but I had a more keen interest in moving iron, small mechanical contraptions, clocks mostly. War came and went. I fought, I killed my fellow man. I mastered archery and the sword. Yet, little did I know that my entire life led up to something bigger, something grander. Rapture, apocalypse. From the heavens descended iron beasts that rode on fire, and with impunity unleashed their wrath on men, women, and children alike. I recall the fear and uncertainty as these demons ravaged our lands. Few stood in their path, lest they perish by way of the iron rods and staffs which emitted light, punching holes in any unfortunate bastards who happens to be in its way. The wrath of God, the priests would say. At first, I believed them. For what else can this be but divine punishment? But as they quickly usurped every baron, lord, king, and emperor from every corner of God's green earth, some decided to do the unthinkable. Resist. Our weapons are nothing compared to those of these angels or demons, whatever they were. But the story spread of a young man who got up close to one of them and pierced right through the armor with a dagger, killing it. Soon, more stories, though few and far between, started to spread like whispers in the wind. These were no angels, nor were they demons. They were living beings of flesh and blood, such as you and I. That got me thinking. These were not divine artifacts they wield, but tools, much more complicated and elaborate tools, but tools nonetheless. Hence, they could be studied. As the years went by and the invaders established control, they brought with them more and more incredible tools, massive metal contraptions and wheels akin to wagons moving without beasts of burden, but some sort of internal mechanism. Not to even mention the flying metal ships which rode with the speed propelled by fire. Soon, we started learning from them how some of these things worked. They hired laborers to man these tools and use them, because these invaders, though powerful, were small in number, and their machines could not do all the work. These laborers were taught how to use them and fix them if necessary. We discovered they were unfamiliar with our home. They were trying to learn about us as much as we did about them, but for diametrically different reasons. For them, it was about total control. For us, it was how to fight them. They used a type of crystal to power their machines and weapons. If handled improperly, it would fry and burn anyone unfortunate enough to be touching it directly, or via metal touching the crystal. It was also discovered that water transmits this heat or energy if in direct contact to an uncovered crystal. The Resistance, where every religion and creed stood together in unity for a singular goal, to kick the invaders out, needed to obtain these crystals, but they couldn't be taken directly for the aforementioned reasons. One day, someone brought me something that would change everything. One of their weapons, an iron staff, an old one from what everyone could tell. The new ones can only be used by the invaders. If any other person tries to pull the trigger, it would budge. Sorcery, some say, but I knew something beyond our scope of knowledge was at play. As a blacksmith and inventor for most of my life, they saw me as the only person who could possibly figure out how this thing worked. I was left with no other choice but to try. In total secrecy, in the depths of the forest, I toiled in a cabin with a handful of apprentices. We managed to successfully deconstruct and reconstruct the iron staff. We learned how to safely handle the crystal specifically used for the iron staff, which was small and rectangular. Unfortunately, one of my apprentices was killed by it during our research. May his soul rest well. For his death was not in vain. I refused to have his death be in vain. And so I toiled, like in my youth, both at night and in day, studying the intricacies of the weapon. Soon, people brought me more tools to study and deconstruct. I learned more, and I imparted my knowledge on as many as I could. Soon enough, by using the very tools of the invaders and stolen crystals, I managed to make a crude and, albeit usable, iron staff. I was able to construct other more simple but useful tools as well. I was not alone in this journey. Other blacksmiths and scholars toiled to learn as much from the invaders as they could. All this hard work was not for nothing. After years of planning and preparation, we rose up. We rose up like a phoenix from the ashes. We will not be slaves and laborers for these invaders who stole our land, killed our people, and reaped what we've sown for their own gain. No, not anymore. We armed ourselves with their weapons. We took their machines and turned them against them. We invaded their fortresses and encampments. We raided their stores. The war was at first local, but quickly it spread. At first we used only their weapons, but soon learned to fly their iron beasts. Those who learned their language and script learned to use their glass orbs and windows. At first we thought we will fail, but we realized one crucial thing. For every man they killed, another two were ready to take his place. What they had was an army with no reinforcements. The land scorched, the skies burned, the rivers ran dry, and forests were turned to ash. Cities were grinded to dust. But we knew that one day would come. It was inevitable. We would see it in their rising fear and panic. We could see it when the first among them began to surrender. I do not know if I will live to see that day, for old age is taking its toll. I know the price we'll pay will be high, but we will breathe free once more, and we will turn our gaze to the heavens. We will ride the iron beasts of our own. We will ride that fire in the sky, and we will have our vengeance. I know this, for my name is Prince, and I am human. End of story. Story number 2. The Greatest Weapon of War, written by Drifty241. I was lucky enough to be placed on the directing board of the Victory Parade on Atlantis. After defeating the Srothian Confederation, largely with the support of humanity and the Orion Liberation Front, we had decided to host a Victory Parade on the colony. Naturally, it became a bit of a competition to see which species could muster the greatest weapons. The Zeptian clans can provide 500 men and an antimatter sling for the parade, I said, proud of the destructive might of the weapon. Since we're holding this just outside of New Manchester, I could pull some strings to do a live fire demonstration. The antimatter sling was a feared piece of artillery, using small amounts of its namesake to do sizable damage. I had no doubt that it would be the greatest attraction. The Goric representative spoke next. I can arrange for 2 Revenant armored vehicles and 600 men with pulse rifles. I nearly laughed. The Revenant had been a failure at every turn, especially after its disastrous deployment at the Battle of Avric. Finally, the human representative began to speak. I was admittedly scared by what terrifying weapon they could arrange for. Their tanks were known to be the best in the Orion arm. This definitely has become a contest, hasn't it? Sighed the man. But you're all wrong. The greatest weapon of war since the dawn of time is the shovel. He bore a knowing look on his face despite the absurdity of his joke. Real funny. You've got the whole board laughing, I joked sarcastically. No, I'm being serious. Now the board just seemed confused at the human's actions. Let's take your antimatter sling, for example. You can mitigate its effects with a trench. What about the shockwave? I retorted. Just dig a U-shape. As for the Revenant vehicle, you can just dig a ditch and put a camouflage netting over it. It'll get stuck, and sappers can destroy it. Throughout the conversation, the man hadn't lost his smile. I can tell the old species hasn't been waging war against itself for millennia. I thought for a while about what the representative had said. I suppose he was right. Every man can be given a spade and made to dig. It still felt like a weird joke, even though he had proven the effectiveness of earthworks. I decided to break the silence and play into his claim. You can't just have a load of men marching along with shovels, though, right? That would be quite boring in the parade, don't you think? I know. I'm going to get my hands on 100 Beowulf tanks and arrange a flyover. Typical humans, giving a smart-ass answer and then just flexing anyway. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps. Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnold, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Light Jock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Azrakal. Thank you very much.